What's going on, everyone? The stock market bounced off support today in a major way, and for today's episode, we have a lot of exciting things to cover, like how the CEO of Apple, Tim Cook, is actually selling Apple shares right now. On top of that, we have the market at a crucial pivot point, and then we have some weird news on how Mark Zuckerberg is trying to bring back the dead in the metaverse. So stick with us all the way to the end. We have a lot to talk about today, and we have some awesome setups for tomorrow. But with that being said, Tom, let's get rolling. And what happened in the market today?
Yeah, it was a pretty crazy day overall. You know, the SPY started really moving back up, and at first it was a very choppy morning. When the market opened, the SPY kind of pushed up in pre-market a little bit, but really it wasn't that much. And then whenever we opened, we dipped back down, tested off that support around 420 to 420.50, and then started coming back up here. Now we ran right back up into major resistance right around 425 to 426. This area has been very key over the past couple weeks as far as hits off of it. So I am kind of worried heading into tomorrow. I'm kind of thinking that we might continue on a nice little uptrend, and we might get a couple more green days, kind of like last week, how we had a nice consolidation move back to the upside. But at the same time, we also recently broke under a key trend line on the daily chart. And today, with that slight move back up, we kind of are testing that end of day. And if we go intraday to that 5-minute chart, you can see we're actually hitting right off of that end of day. So I am curious. Tomorrow's going to be a big day for the market, and I think we're going to finally pick a big direction. To the downside, I'm using 420 as a major support, and I'm using 426 as a pretty big resistance, but I'm really waiting for that bigger move to come in because I'll be honest, while the market moved up today, it was a pretty big chop fest still.
No doubt about that, and everyone's looking at the market right now and asking themselves, what's next? And there is no doubt that over the past 2 months, bears have been in control of the market. And going forward, a lot of history leads us to believe that, at least in the short term, there is more room to the downside. All week long, we've been talking about the SPY seasonality, but even looking at VIX seasonality, and remember, the VIX goes up when the stock market is down and there's panic everywhere. So in the red line, we can see the VIX right now for this year, and then in like the black/gray line, we can see, its historical movement. So we are in that time of the year where VIX normally is still in a pretty strong uptrend, but we only have a little bit more left of this time of the year. So keep that in mind going forward, but history's telling us there's more downside.
Yeah, and once we get to the middle of October is when we start to see that VIX trend start to change a little bit, and the overall market trend too. So for the next couple weeks or so, we could still see that downwards movement. We do have a pretty big stat though to still go over, so stick with us. But if we go over to that VIX chart, Mike, it's been really nice to see it popping back up lately. We've been getting back up into those levels that we're used to seeing with VIX, right? Like 17, 18, 19. Whenever we were down at 13, that was pretty weird, I would say. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we started to pull back, but like you said, maybe in a couple of weeks. I still see more downwards movement out of the overall market too. Especially some of these bigger tech stocks like Nvidia, right? I know we mentioned them a lot, but they're one of the big ones that just seem way too overextended still. And then we have Meta still up here holding $300. Like, I don't know, Mike. Like, are they going to hold here? Are they going to drop? That's the really big question. And the best thing to do is to really just have that strategy and be ready for some of these big moves that happen.
I think the best way to tell what's going to happen in the market in the short term right now is looking at interest rates, and the easiest way to do that is look at TLT. If you are looking at the market and you see TLT down in a major way, that means interest rates are rising even more, and that is not a good thing for the stock market. So especially when it moves, quickly in a big way. So if TLT is tanking, it's bad for stocks, but if TLT is holding steady or it's rising, it's good for the market. I think this will be the best way to gauge, short-term sentiment.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty big too, seeing TLT do that. You can also look at TNX as well, which is like kind of following the 10-year yield to the upside. You can kind of see that percentage a little bit, like 4.73. Pretty cool there. And you can kind of see these big breakouts starting to happen. So, TLT is like the opposite in a way. It kind of like inverses the TNX. So it's really cool though to see TLT getting so low, Mike. I think over the longer term, it's going to create a lot of good opportunities. But in the short term, it's getting wild. And I wonder how much longer, right? Like these yields can keep rising. So I'm really waiting for TLT to start to turn back around. And I'm definitely a buyer of it down here. It's just, we have to keep averaging in, right? Like don't go in too quickly, too soon. Powell's still expected to keep rates pretty high for pretty long. So it'll just be a nice thing to average into, I think, over the next 6 months if anybody's looking for a longer term opportunity.
No doubt. Well, Tom, we have to talk more about what's actually happening in the market right now. And the SPY has made 30, or out of the past 50 days, the SPY has made lower lows in 33 of them. This is the highest point in, you could say, since 1993, and this is tied with March of 2022, October of 2008, and March of 2008. This is an extremely high and historical level, and basically what it means is that, we've seen a lot of down days and lower lows and selling pressure lately, so much so that, it's one of, the most significant points since 1993. So keep that in mind going forward. And Tom, everyone's wondering, are we going for, let's say, 35 days for a new record, or is this going to chill off?
Yeah, exactly. That's the big question, right? I'm kind of hoping that we get another big record day. We just broke that trend line. The SPY's kind of testing it. If we could get down again tomorrow and continue this sell-off, I think that would be the better move, especially just the better move in general to play, right? Like if we got that big continuation, it would be good for SQQQ, SPXS, all of those inverse ETFs, and even those puts in the short term will probably explode in a huge way. I know that over the past few weeks and few months, we've been seeing that those puts and those plays have been pretty awesome to see happen and play out. A lot of people have been profiting from them too. So I think that downwards play would be awesome. So I hope that we get that streak continuing here. But that would be a pretty crazy streak to see, though, and a streak that we're talking about breaking since like 07 to 08. I thought maybe during COVID we would have broke the streak, but wow, I mean, I can't believe how many down days within the past 50 we've seen. And whenever you go back on the SPY's daily, it makes sense. I mean, and we actually calculated it out. From August 1st to now is exactly where we see it. So that's almost the top till where we are, which is a pretty bad move.
No doubt. And, we don't have downside moves like this for no reason. Whenever you see stocks moving like this, the big tech stocks like Apple is always following it. And speaking of Apple stock, Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, just dumped $41 million worth of his shares, which comes out to 511,000 shares. I know he was getting some flack for this, but he's still holding 3.3 million. But whenever you have a figure as powerful as Tim Cook, you can't help but notice.
Yeah, I mean, that is huge, Mike. That is a lot of money. $41 million in stock from Tim Cook being sold. I mean, that is huge. And then we've been seeing other big CEOs selling stock lately, too, like NVIDIA's CEO, who's been selling a lot up here around the top. So I'm wondering if maybe these big tech giants, if they're anticipating something, right? I would think maybe they are, especially with Powell kind of forecasting rate hikes coming at the end of the year. I know that we're not seeing that on the probabilities, but they keep talking about it anyways. It's one of those just big worries there. We have the inflation data getting bad. We're going to be seeing how that comes out the next couple months. I wonder if they're kind of thinking that the market might take a hit here. It's definitely a possibility. Whenever you scroll out over the longer term, I mean, Apple stock is still up a ton, right? Obviously, if we zoom in a lot, everyone's like, oh, it's down so much. Like, oh my God, the world's ending, right? But whenever you zoom out, it's like, in reality, Apple's stock could fall like another 30% and still like what look fairly fine on the chart, right? Like honestly, it would be very choppy, but it would be just fine charting wise. So I don't know, Mike. It's one of those situations where you have these big CEOs starting to get out. It's definitely worrying when you see a big player like him selling that much shares.
Yeah, like when you have an insider buying shares, they're buying shares for one reason and one reason only, and that's because they think the stock will go up. Now, when you have insiders selling shares, they could be selling those shares because they think the stock will fall. They could be selling those shares because they want a new mansion, or they could be selling those shares like maybe in Tim Cook's situation where, Christmas is coming up and you need some spending power, right? So $41 million, why not? But either way, it's interesting. Keep a close eye on it. And if we see continued selling pressure going forward from Tim Cook, then it would be more of a red flag.
Yeah, exactly. But I will say, though, it's the biggest scheduled sale in 2 years. So that is still a pretty big sale. And, Apple has been seeing a lot of downwards price action lately. I will say, though, like in the short term, it seems like it's starting to hit off of support a little bit, right? Like this support level right around like 170 is pretty huge. So I'll definitely be keeping it on the radar, though. It's the most influential stock in the market, right? So how could you not talk about it?
Exactly. And then speaking of Apple, we also have Meta with some pretty whack news, to be honest. I don't know if I'm excited for this news or if I'm kind of creeped out, but Mark Zuckerberg agreed that it could be possible to use the metaverse to bring back the dead virtually. Like, what? So this is kind of crazy. I mean, if he could find out how to do this, I'm sure that'd be good for Meta stock. But I think we're far away from that point. But then again, with the way AI has been getting so smart lately, like I would not be surprised if something like this actually happened.
Yeah, I mean, it could easily happen, whenever even you see video games nowadays with how people are coded into the games, like there's so much variance with like AI now that a lot of these things start thinking for themselves. You can get them to do things like that. And imagine if you like start, I don't know what they do, like copy somebody's memories or something. I mean, it definitely sounds wild, right? But I guess anything is technically possible. But will it happen? I don't know, So that's kind of where I am with this. But I kind of like what you said about being creeped out with it. I don't know if I'd want to be talking to a lot of dead people on there. It would be very creepy.
Yeah, so I don't know what to think about this, but either way, keep it in the back of your head, I guess. But Tom, going forward for the rest of the week, we had earnings weren't that exciting this week. Tilray, the marijuana company, reported, and it didn't really do anything. It is down like 0.09% or 0.9% today. What's going on with this one?
Yeah, so I wanted to look at a little bit of things with Tilray here. So as we go through their earnings, it looks like they did have a year-over-year revenue increase of 15.5%, which is fantastic. So good for them in that. Now, on their EPS, it did come in a little bit less than a year ago. But whenever I look at their revenues compared to estimates, their cannabis business did great. It beat estimates by around $4 million. But the rest of their numbers, like the wellness business, missed. The alcohol business missed. Distributions, actually, this one actually beat the estimate slightly, but the gross profits, yeah, psych, right? Everything was missing, but the gross profits for cannabis even missed. The gross profits for wellness missed. The beverages missed again. Again, that distribution barely squeaked it out. So it's just like Tilray, it was not a wowing report, right? And this is a stock that needs something wowing right now. And I think the big thing is just waiting for this legislation to get through Congress, right? And it's going to take a long time. If you're into Tilray right now, I know we've been talking about it a lot. It's a long-term play, and you're going to have to try to weather this long-term storm.
With marijuana stocks, most of the time they just slowly fade down unless there is very good news or unless there's just a ton of buying pressure flowing in. So until one of those things happen, in the short term, it'll probably be slow. So keep that in mind going forward. That's just how these stocks work. And then on a different note, Tom, again, there's not really too much going on with like the economic data side of things. What else do we have to pay attention to for the rest of the week?
Yeah, so really tomorrow there's not too much. There is a few Fed speakers here like Mester, Barkin, Daly, and Barr, so be ready for those. There is some initial jobless claims coming tomorrow at 8:30 a.m., 1 hour before the market opens, but Friday's the big day. We're going to have non-farm payrolls and the unemployment rate. That's going to be pretty dang important. Hopefully that unemployment rate doesn't surprise people and come in a little bit hot, but those job numbers are always going to be big. Even today, we saw some ISM services PMI and some ADP employment change numbers that ended up moving the market a little bit. So definitely keep these on the radar for the rest of the week, and maybe it'll start to make SPY get a little bit more volatile here.
Alrighty, well with that being said, let's jump right into some setups and predictions for tomorrow and the rest of the week. One stock I'm watching pretty closely is Peloton. So last week they had some good news where they have this partnership with Lululemon. The stock's moving up a little bit off of this news, but nothing too crazy so far. The stock is still very oversold, and it does have potential in the short term. I do like the risk reward for this one to the upside, but I will say with this one, it moves. Like, most of the time it doesn't move, but when it does move, it moves with some real power. So, if tomorrow we're seeing that sort of explosive price action, it can make for a good play, but if it's doing nothing, just forget about it.
Yeah, I think this is a good opportunity. It had some good news recently, and it's starting to hold its ground a little bit, and the SPY is even popping up slightly. So I think that Peloton could be a pretty good one for the next couple days. Keep it on the radar. Lulu is always a big company there for them to partner with. With my next play, I'm going with AMD. I noticed a big move to the upside on this one today, specifically around the end of day. It had a huge recovery. If it's able to break this 105 resistance tomorrow, I will look for a continuation. This was a great move today. They did have some news early on, but I'll say this, that end of day move was just something else. So if they break 105, watch for those calls. It has a lot of short-term momentum. But then again, it's one of those stocks that we need the SPY to also move up a little bit. Like if the market tanks off, then it takes off. It's probably not going to go up then.
Yep. Another stock I'm watching pretty closely is PayPal. This one is at a very low and historical level right now, and just the risk to reward to the upside is really good in my opinion. It's at a major support. It's so oversold, and if it runs, I think it has a pretty good I guess you could say profit potential, you can say. So I will be watching this one pretty closely to the upside.
Yeah, it's a really cool stock here. I love PayPal. I love it being right on support as well. As it starts to recover here, I think it'll be an awesome mover. Good call. That support is very big for the long term and even the short term. It's an awesome one. With my next play, I'm going to go with X. X is a metals company, right? But whenever we go to that daily chart, they have been starting to break this upper range pretty well. So if they're able to continue this uptrend and get a nice green day coming in tomorrow, I will look at a good continuation. They've been holding up very, very strong, and this thing's been a pretty big runner ever since it started breaking out. So if it starts to break maybe $33, watch for those calls possibly. This thing could possibly start to move a little bit more. And talking about X and metals, I'm really looking at all metals, like even gold and silver. I think that there's great opportunities on these recent dips.
All right, good stuff. Well, it's now about that time for the momentum plays, and with the first one, we have Chewy to the upside.
CHWY, look at that daily chart. They've been so low lately, but I think they'll start coming back. So if they break this double top here, end of day, right around 1840, then look at calls.
All right, with the next one, we have ExxonMobil to the downside.
Yeah, these oil stocks started really tumbling off here. If they get under $110, look at puts, and that was a no slouch mover today, down 3.7%.
All right, and then with the last one, we have TLT for both directions.
Yeah, TLT started recovering back today. That'd be nice if it kept going here. If they break 86.40, look at calls tomorrow. It's just above that triple top that they had at the end of day today. And if they end up falling back down, go ahead and make them break below 85.40. It's a pretty big area right around the low of day today.
All right, so we have that downside level for potential downside play only if it breaks below that level. We have the upside point for a potential upside play only if it breaks above that level. And then don't forget about ExxonMobil with its downside play as well. And then Chewy with its upside play. But those are the momentum plays for today. And it's now about that time for today's big money trade of the day, and we are looking at ticker symbol MNST. Basically, someone dumped $655,000 into the MNST. It's a tongue twister. $52.50 strike call options. Basically, it's a bullish play. Whenever you buy calls like this, you're hoping that the stock goes up. And with this specific play, the stock has fallen a lot over like the past couple weeks, and it bounced perfectly to the upside today. This play has potential. It's not my favorite setup ever, but like as long as it keeps up the same like level of like buying pressure that we saw today, it can make for a good play. So keep a close eye on it.
Yeah, Monster. Man, this makes me want to go buy one right now. Monster Energy. They are a huge business out there, and they've done very well over the years. I've really enjoyed seeing their growth, and they even had a big split recently as well. I guess it's not huge, but 2-1. They still split nonetheless. But they are dropping off a little bit here. That uptrend today might be the start of a good reversal. So I like the play. It's a shorter term play, and if we continue to see that upwards trend tomorrow, it could be a great one to follow. So watch those 5250 calls. I even like the strike, Mike. It's like just in the money for us, or I mean, just out of the money. So it's like, it's honestly like right at the money. So it'll be fairly good at priced. Like it's not too risky. Like if these were like the 55 calls or the 60 calls, I'd be pretty freaked out. But hey, at least it's right here for us. It'll be a safer trade. And that was a great shift in momentum today here for them.
Here's a fun fact about Monster. They're actually the best performing stock in the S&P 500 over the past 25 years. And yes, they performed better than Apple and Amazon. Monster has a cumulative return of 268,000% over the past 25 years, while Apple only has a 129,000% return. So it's pretty crazy. And then Amazon's only at 33,000%, but Monster has averaged a 37% return per year over the past 25 years. It is a definitely a powerhouse in that sense, but we'll see what happens with this one going forward.
Man, Mike, that is a crazy stat. I cannot believe that I knew it was good, but I didn't realize it was that good. I mean, that is one hell of an achievement by this company.
No doubt. So that is that's the scoop for today. Going into tomorrow, we are seeing bulls come back in a little bit of a strong way. We have, overall bearish selling pressure still strong. In today's video, we covered a lot of great plays, and if you guys liked it, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Every single day, we cover charts that you won't find anywhere else. We do hours worth of research to make these videos as great as possible and basically let you know everything you need to know for the market. We also cover big money plays and predictions in every single video, so why not subscribe? Why not subscribe if you haven't done so already? But with that being said, Tom, do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, let's go, guys. The SPY's at a very big point right now. This 420 area, we've been seeing a lot of consolidation and a lot of up and down choppiness here the past couple weeks. I'm really hoping that we can get a bigger move back to the downside tomorrow, but we will see what happens with the price action. Be adaptable. There's a lot of great plays that we threw out there tonight. If you have to, go back and look at them like AMD, X, Peloton, PayPal. Keep them on watch. Some of those stocks are at pretty good supports and they're starting starting to break out pretty damn well. So let's go, guys. Be ready for tomorrow. I think it could be a pretty good day out there. And hey, if you're not joined yet, join up in the Discord as well. Check out the link down below. We'll be in there all day tomorrow.
You know it. And also, we want to give a giant shout out to today's Discord member of the day, which is the Boss for sure. Huge shout out to you. Thank you so much for all of your support, and we love having you in the chat. Besides that, guys, let's have an amazing rest of the week.